you also said, as a founder, you've got to position yourself close to the revenue. You've got to find where that is and be near it. Okay. So now tying all of the things we've discussed together, how can we tell a cohesive story around optimizing revenue and developer health?
Hmm.
And is it one and the same priority?
Well, I don't think that the tech community is really going to prioritize developer health until developers become more like athletes in terms of, they're getting paid even more. I mean, it's already starting. Look, I mean, you see you see front end engineers getting paid, $400,000, $500,000, in certain companies and above, and AI engineers the same, right? So, when you have less people that are super special in the, in the athletic, professional sports space, those people are given everything they could possibly want, and need, and all the care that they need. And I see that we're going in that direction, as one person can do more and more, right? Than they could. It's definitely 10 years ago, mind blowing change in the last 20, 30 years with what one person can build. So I think that'll help things. It's going to have other negative issues like more celebrity status and all those other negative things that come with people becoming essentially powerful in an organization as an independent contributor. But I think it'll help that some of these technologies will get cheaper. Neurofeedback's getting cheaper. There will be more companies that have cold plunges in, on site. You're going to have people wearing the crown. I think it's, was it Neurosity? I forget that startup. Like there's going to be so many more tools. Like you see an athlete running on the treadmill with the, oxygen thing on and kind of seeing where they're at. And they're always on the table. Engineers and people working in tech, they need that for their minds and their bodies. Like we need training, and that's what I have in my head 10, 15 years from now. Like that's the type of care. But like engineers traditionally are looked at as a cog in the wheel, so once they start to see, okay, taking care and helping this person do their best work, is going to lead to more revenue, and they're solving my biggest problems, right? Without these people becoming divas, which again will still happen, right? I think there will be this movement towards like, okay, this is revenue generation if I help this person and don't burn them out. Because wow, they were performing really well and then they got extremely burned out, right? Because I viewed them as a cog in the wheel. So that, anybody, this is still a creative piece you're building. There's a ton of logical components to it, but any creative person needs refreshment, downtime, so we don't work a 32-hour work week anymore. That was very like prescriptive. We have a results oriented work environment. So if people want to work 22 hours a week, if they want to work 43, whatever it is, we're asking them, this is the goal, so do what you feel like you need to. And what a lot of people are looking for is flexibility to hang out with their family from 2 to 5, or do this or do that, and kind of work at times that work for them. So yeah, it's looking at this as productivity, because you're allowing your engineers, just like an athlete, to be their best on that game day.
I think this is so cool. And I love that you did answer the question in the end, that it is one priority, which is revenue. And really the way you get revenue in the knowledge economy is by optimizing health. So it is indeed a means to an end, and the end for a for-profit company is always profit. And I don't think that's necessarily bad, because it's literally called a for-profit company. But because I've heard people sort of not invest in developer health and or flexible results-oriented work because this isn't a charity. We expect you to take care of yourself. But you can't do that if the environment isn't conducive to you taking care of your health, right?
Right.
So I love that you draw that parallel. This also reminds me of really great books by Dr. Cal Newport. We'll put links to these in the show notes, which is Deep Work, where Cal Newport talks about the importance of not being a butt in a chair for 8 hours a day, or 6 hours a day in what he defines as a knowledge based skill, as opposed to a physical based skill. So like, and I love this because like if you're like laying bricks to build a house, yes, you can then lay, excuse me, a certain number of bricks per second or minute.
Hmm.
And so then it does matter your time doing bricklaying. But if you're instead like solving an algorithm for grading a code challenge, um, I think there's plenty of evidence that will show that the more time you spend doing this, the worse it will get. Really, the more time you spend on software, the worse software you produce. And so I
Yes.
think there's a lot of incentive for like, no, just work whenever you want, but solve the problem.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with you. I think we will move in that direction
Yeah.
as well.
Yes, revenue generation ultimately is solving the right problems. And how does a software engineer or product team solve problems with ultimately their brains, and some of their body? And so if you're looking at that link between how do I solve problems effectively and efficiently, then you need to take care of the people's brains and bodies that are doing that work to produce that on high quality work on a regular basis that produces the revenue. So that's it. That's the simple way of putting it.
Yeah, and I think I'd love to see, and I love that G2I is leading the charge on this. I don't know any other company that sees it this way or at least vocalizes it this way. I would love to see also education around boundary setting. I think this is so key. Like literally everyone I know, Gabe, and their mother who works professionally, struggles with this.
Mm.
They will work nights, they will work weekends, they find they don't yet understand that processing itself is also work. So what they'll do is they'll go to work in the morning, do their work, but there's meetings and there's things, and someone will say something to someone, and they go home from work and they're still thinking about it the
Hmm.
rest of the day. So it's not just the 8 hours they spend there, but it's the hours after, like during dinner, thinking about how Alex said this one thing to Sasha, and like that still eats into your life, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't know that there's any good resources on boundary setting, but I think that's probably somewhere that there's room for content. Has this been a topic at G2I as y'all explore developer health initiatives?
Has this been a topic, boundary setting?
Yeah.
It's in developer health operating system. We actually talk about boundaries. Yeah. So
Whoa.
yeah, and we'll probably grow that. I think there's also some identification with, you have some workplaces which, just will stretch your boundaries and they're like essentially a workaholic, oriented workplace. And it's really hard to constantly set boundaries with an organization like that. It might be easier to step out or to look for something that's different. Do you need to go to the extreme of finding only working for a 32-hour work week type company? I think 4dayworkweek.io, is one of those websites you can find, a 4-day work week on. No, you just need to like there's that balance, move fast and fix things. Like if you're fixing the right things and you're moving quickly aligned, I don't want my engineers to work on Saturday and Sunday unless there's an emergency. I've done it once in the last 6 months with an engineer. We had a weekend project. Both of our wives were out of town and we executed it. And then Monday and Tuesday, we took it real slow and like time off and all that kind of stuff. It's like a bank, like if you put in more resources some time, you have to you if you take so many withdrawals, you have to, put more in at some point.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tide pool.
Yep.
Um,